This is Past the Rock.
My favorite Mavs move of all time is trading a good player who was on a bad contract. I'll give him that. Trading him for two guys who literally were about to be out of the league forever. Well, although Justin Jackson's kind of come and gone for the most part, but really never has been an NBA player. And then Harrison immediately becomes exactly the kind of wing that needs to play next to Luka in Sacramento.
I think with that we're gonna go ahead and just pass this rock over to Beth Key to get some post trade deadline talk going and see what's going on with the buyout market headed into the playoff season.
Yeah. Hey, honestly, we're going to go ahead and start by getting you caught up on the quick news. Kevin Durant officially announced today as a Phoenix Sun, and they're playing Clippers Suns right now, the last game of the pre All Star break portion of the season. And some guy's already walking around in a 35 Durant jersey, so good for the Suns to go ahead and get those pumped out to the people.
Are they actual Durant jerseys or are they that weird Bed Durant?
No. Well, yeah, you're talking about Dragon Bender, who
Bender,
is
sorry,
any anime fan who also likes the NBA probably was huge on Dragon Bender. It's actually Dragon, but yeah, his name was basically Dragon Bender. He wasn't good. He was drafted in a good slot. He was supposed to be good. He wasn't very good. So now the Suns fans like to have a little fun with that. Took the Bender and turned it to Kevin Durant. So
yeah.
that was fun. We enjoy the internet for the reasons like that.
I thought that was very funny.
But yeah, so that's cool. I'll be honest with you. I took a step back with my hoops watching after the deadline, mostly just getting into national stuff because everybody's rosters are so in flux. Who's playing here and there? We'll talk about the Mavericks a little bit in a second. We finally just got the Lakers' new version last night. The Suns are still not in full strength until probably after the All-Star break, when we'll get to see that group together. So a lot of the basketball talk we will get into a little bit today once we get to the standings, but most of that is still going to be a lot of wait and see. But we'll get a little housekeeping notes done. So Celtics announced that they're going to keep and extend Joe Mazzulla as the head coach. I know you guys probably haven't seen a lot of the minutia of this. Obviously, you both know the Celtics are pretty damn good. Mazzulla's a really good guy. You know, NBA coach is a hell of a job nowadays. It kind of means different things in different places depending on where you're at with players you have. He seems to be a real easy to get to the players kind of guy. I think my favorite Joe Mazzulla thing is that he had to miss like a couple games due to a facial fracture he picked up in a basketball game, in a scrimmage basketball game. What was made even funnier to me is I was listening to a podcast where the Jazz's head coach, Will Hardy, who in all likelihood probably would have been the Celtics coach had the MA situation happened differently. Will Hardy was talking about Mazzulla and how he knew exactly he wasn't even told about the incident, but he already knew exactly how it happened in those little scrimmages that they have and who did it and all that stuff. So it cracked me up.
This is Past the Rock.
Have you guys heard of the Stay Ready teams?
I have not, actually.
So Stay Ready team is a pretty normal thing. I don't know if it's called that in every team, but essentially the guys who don't play regular minutes and some of the older coaches and the assistants and stuff, they scrimmage daily, and it's essentially, the Stay Ready team.
It's like guys 10 through 15 or whatever on the roster.
Right. Or anytime the G League guys are up, any things like that, they'll play in their own scrimmages daily to make sure that they're staying ready.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's all it is. So I think that's what it was, is Joe's playing with the Stay Ready team, which like I said, I think that's cool as hell. My head coach playing the Stay Ready team, like that gives me a kick, even if that's meaningless. I love that personally.
And especially nowadays when there's so much value in developing your G League rosters through the franchise and everything, and across all sports, this is especially prevalent, and you can see it a lot in hockey with just like even the bottom guys on the roster are still elite athletes.
Yeah.
Top tier guys that still, yeah, they need they need uh they need reps basically.
They do. They do.
Because they're all going to go as hard as they can every time. It's not like the old days where you had your stars and then your other guys who were plumbers and whatever.
And it's so much easier to have the feel of the game, the situational aspects of the game. It's just easier to bring up in real time. That's why I know if you ever see these coaches handle scrimmages, they'll usually call the ball dead mid play a bunch of times to point things out.
Yeah, I was going to ask, how do they do? I assume because I've never seen an NBA practice. I assume at some point they're handling some kind of simulated free throw type situation where you're playing stop.
Yeah, no, you're just playing. You're just playing straight up pickup at that point, or 20 whatever to whatever. Yeah, you're not. I don't think those stay ready teams are doing that because they'll do the free throw shooting drills and stuff depending on the player. That a lot of that is not uniform either, right? In football, you're very uniform, or maybe other sports, you're very uniform about everybody who's in this position does this. Basketball, it's a lot of who holds you accountable. Like honestly, there's a lot of goofy stuff too. Like especially when there's bad free throw shooters or below average free throw shooters that are great players that like to, maybe let the media know that they're gonna stay after to shoot around a little bit so that the media gets a good shot and puts it on ESPN.
Yeah, and I guess what I'm looking for is for them to be practicing not necessarily shooting a free throw, but shooting a free throw in the context of having just been sprinting for 2 minutes before then.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, I think
that's a weird thing about the NBA is that they just don't really practice compared to most other sports.
Right. A lot of times they don't. They're walkthroughs, yeah, and because it doesn't make any sense to practice. There's too many games. There's the games are too taxing on the body.
They're already sitting everyone out most of the games anyways. So
that's why you have to look at it.
Sorry, that was a really heavy exaggeration. I didn't mean to be that negative about it, but they do have to miss a lot of games because of how hard they play.
Right, and even the ones that don't, like it still takes time to develop all that chemistry. That's why a lot of people laugh at like the Clippers. They say, okay, cool. How many times do you keep just trying to play 2K essentially in real life? There has to be real chemistry here. This isn't just what's your overall component to it.
Do you foresee any future where the league agrees to cut back the number of games from 82?
I think there's already been reasonable conversations about it. I think the answer is no, because I think it's obvious that they want to do the tournaments.
Money.
Yeah, but the tournaments is going to work. So I don't understand why they don't just extend the season. Like we begin in the end of October doing, playing fucking preseason games. Like, no offense, but if the preseason game isn't playing a non-NBA team, it shouldn't be held. There's no fucking reason for us to be doing exhibition games against each other. Makes no damn sense.
Yeah.
Like, I'm great with us going across the country, across the world, whatever. I have no problem. That's a perfect idea to get these guys warmed up and show them off and all that good stuff. But there is no damn reason why these guys need an actual preseason exhibition against each other. Like, even the end of bench guys, I just don't. I don't buy it. I don't buy it, even though people will pitch me that it's, well, this really helps the 13th, 15th man get a two-way deal. And it's like, he probably was going to get that two-way deal with all the summer league footage and probably
based off everything else. Yeah.
Yeah, like there's just a lot of other ways to look at these kids that we don't need preseason, and most people don't watch preseason anyway.
How do you think the tickets sell for preseason?
Not well.
That's a good question. Yeah, I mean they're always really cheap, or they were when I would go. I went to Luca's first game, which was a preseason game against the Hornets, I believe.
It was going to take some work to try to find preseason.
Yeah, it would have been the preseason
attendance numbers
rookie year, but I set lower bowl too. I set real close. That's why I was like, oh shit, this kid might be different. He was awful too to start the game. But I was like, oh shit. I was like, this guy is I was like, what the fuck is this? I was like, this is better than what I was expecting. I was like, this man is This man is insane. What the fuck did we just stumble on?
They really did. They really did stumble their way onto that.
This is Past the Rust.
All of that is to say, we're at the point of the season where things have started to grind to a halt. Obviously, things will come to a very rapid start once the post All-Star break comes into effect, which who knows? I think it's usually like the Wednesday of the week after is when the games start up again. So like the 22nd, I think is.
Yes, the Mavs play Wednesday.
Yeah, so I think that's what it is. Usually it's the Wednesday after. And that all the teams will start coming back together. And like I said, at that point, we can talk about more of the minutia. I know, Caesar, you wanted to get into the Mavs a little bit. We will when we get to the standings. I wanted to
Mavs
just
play Thursday, so I think Thursday might be when they're back.
Oh, nice. Well, that's even better for them. The
Unless
only
you're on the All-Star team, and then you don't get much of a break at all.
yeah, depending. I mean, All-Star team. That game is what it is. I think that game is more cardio than anything, anyway.
Well, I mean, I don't mean that it's not necessarily that you're playing hard. It's just like you don't get to go.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
everyone
yeah.
else is on vacation already.
Or like what Lucas said today or yesterday. Did you hear that?
What? No, I don't think I did.
They said, "What part of the All-Star break are you gonna enjoy?" And he said, "Sunday night when I'm flying to Mexico."
Yeah, for sure.
So that cracked me up. But anyway, yeah. So I guess that's a good segue into the All-Star, which is pretty much where we're at in life. Enjoy the All-Star weekend if you want to. There's actually some pretty good dunkers in the dunking contest, I promise. Even though Mac McClung may not be as popular of a name with NBA fans anymore. You might remember when he was a YouTube micro celebrity as a kid.
Yeah, I don't care about the names. I just wanted a fun dunk contest, which is what they're not typically providing me.
Right, and
Yeah.
this year I think they did a good job with it. Let me get all forward, but I know Jericho Sims is in it. I love Jericho Sims, right? Or did Sims back out?
Let's look at.
I forgot somebody backed out.
Dunk
Shane Sharp backed out, and that sucked. Shane Sharp would have been awesome. That would have been a great one to have.
Yeah. So we have Kenyon Martin Jr., Trey Murphy III, Jericho
Oh,
Sims,
that's right.
and Mac McClung.
So I'll be honest with you, Trey Murphy's an interesting candidate because I think that he probably looks the least, sexy when he dunks. Like he's like just when you watch him in game, he's just one of those kind of role player guys that, like, yeah, I get it. He's got the bunnies. I just, I'll be interested to see what his creativity level is because I don't really know that I've seen him get off some crazy ones in game yet. Yeah, Sims, that could be awesome though. That dude is crazy. I would be very disappointed he doesn't perform. That guy literally is gonna bonk his head on the top of the entire stanchion.
This is Past the Rust.
Spot of like that team's not gonna win anything, but you have to try. And he should just rest the rest of the season so that he can play longer. But
I agree, but I think you could argue, and we'll get into the standings in a second, but I think you could argue that the Lakers are in a position where they need to fight for some respectability again and some institutional respectability so that they have something to build off for next year. So that's where my thinking is. It's like, yeah, cool. It may not be the best team in basketball, but good Lord, you guys need like to exercise the demons that were the last 2 years of your franchise. So there's still work to be done there.
No one told me Starry was sponsoring the 3-point contest.
Yeah, what?
Starry's the soda that Pepsi replaced Sierra Mist with.
Wait. Why am I just learning about this?
It's a little bit closer to Sprite and 7-Up style.
Sorry,
It's got a more bold flavor. It's probably about a month, 6 weeks old, something like that.
That makes sense.
All right. Well,
so how do they decide who's in the 3-point contest? Because clearly they don't just go off of top down from percentage.
To be honest, I was just as confused this year. It's just a pool of. I feel like they just ask the best guys, and then they say yes or no, and they just keep going down the list.
Like,
this year, really,
they were like, what I'm looking at here, Malcolm Brogdon's shooting 45%.
Yeah, and some guys might just say no too, right? So Brogdon, hey Brogdon, you want to do it? And he's like, fuck no, I want to go hang out with my kids.
Your boy
Yo,
Isaiah
KCP's
Joe,
doing really well this season.
45.2. Yeah,
Yeah,
KCP's
KCP.
45. Luke Kennard, 49. He's not in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like that's my
Yeah.
problem with these kind of things. It's not.
Oh shit! No,
And if you're
KCP's
not going
having
to
a
give me the
career year.
best,
Huh?
if you're not going to give me the best, then give me Shaq. Let me see Shaq do the 3-point contest.
Yeah, I know. I'm 100%
He just
behind that
gave you
line of
that.
thinking. Give me the
That's
worst
kind of how I
3-point
feel.
shooters in the league.
I think I've heard some. It was probably some stand-up comedian talked about this. Like what they need to do in the Olympics is for every event have one just amateur from the audience have to compete so that everyone can just like see the difference right in front. Which I'd be okay with. Bring in like whoever the celebrity all-star MVP is and make them do every skill challenge next to the athletes.
Then we'll just have to watch Kevin Hart do it.
Yeah.
All the time.
Kevin Hart trying to do the dunk contest, but they don't. They don't lower it, and he just keeps trying.
I think that'll be funny after like 2 attempts, and then after that, it's gonna get sad.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
got to run like the full 7-minute round or whatever it is. I don't know how long they are.
Honestly, that would, you know, what would be funny though if they did do that is he would just figure out like hire an illusionist to help him and then just switch his body out with Nate Robinson at some point and fuck everybody up.
That'd be funny. That'd be hilarious. The only issue is that Nate Robinson's like 4 inches taller than him.
It's true. Yeah, that's fair. I don't think Spud can still get up.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. Oh man, no. I'm gonna say this. Let's just have JaVale McGee in the 3-point contest. I will, and the skills competition. Have JaVale shocked a fool at the All-Star contest. Shocking a fool.
I almost stepped into a big old bear trap. I think.
Oh,
Also, can I? Oh wait, are we pausing on this part?
Oh no, I was gonna ask why they don't get I was gonna ask why they don't bring Sean Bradley back to do it, and then I thought maybe he had something bad happen to him. That's what it was. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Actually,
that's
does
so
his camps. Yeah, he'll actually come out to our camps and like talk to the kids and shit.
Oh, nice. But yeah, I'm gonna transition us out of that for a quick second into an idea that I feel has been talked about, but the NBA is just too scared to do it, and it's to involve street ball players in the All-Star festivities. Let's get these street hoopers in the dunk contest. Let's get these creative dunkers who actually dedicate their whole lives to dunking in the dunk contest.
The social media influencers, I think that's fair to some extent. I think people will enjoy that.
Not necessarily like the influencers, but like the guys who used to run in the N1
circuit. A lot of that isn't really the same as it was. A lot of that is sort of the Instagram, Twitter, TikTok market. You know, a lot of the N1 has sort of changed to social media as well.
Oh, okay.
So you would probably see more prominent people. Like a lot of those old N1 guys are, you know, pretty old, and you know, there's still a little bit. I know Tracy McGrady's trying to do a one-on-one league. So we'll see how that kind of grows as basketball's growing. But I think you would be a little limited on that. And I don't know if the pros would really compete against that for a couple different reasons.
Well, no, I'm not even saying have the pros compete with them. Just put those guys out there for us to see.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I wish they would do that more for the celebrity game. Like, I get the celebrity game's not supposed to be the greatest thing in the world, but bro, they really get like Kevin Hart really did work to make that entertaining for a couple years there.
Yeah, now you can't. I don't think you can pay him enough to do it now, or maybe you can. I don't know.
It's been pretty fun.
Oh,
like,
you definitely
pretty
could.
Fun
Absolutely.
Like, I feel like more people should enjoy playing in that All-Star game, celebrity game, and there's been some fun people. Like, it's just like Justin Bieber getting way too into it. That was fun.
Dude, yeah. I mean, are you kidding me? If I somehow stumbled into that opportunity, I I would be balling as hard as I could, falling on my face, diving
It's-
for
For
shit.
ball-
Yeah,
Diving for loose balls in the celebrity game is nasty. but I'm
you should
here
see
for
me
it.
play softball because it's ridiculous. So I'll just sprint. Like
the-
I'll
My man's gonna
would
be
exert
sending the
as
hardest-
much as I possibly can out of my body, and then just after I get to first base, I just immediately like throw up or something because I can't because I'm not in shape. But if I'm playing the game, I can't stop myself.
no,
All right,
I'm
this
trying
is-
to go for it.
No, I'm gonna say this is the new goal for the Pass the Rock podcast: is to get so big that they ask one of us to participate in the game. We send Patrick out there and have him just set the hardest screens you've ever seen in a celebrity game. I'm talking
dude.
shoulder checks.
I'm a defensive specialist also, so watch out.
I'll
I
tell
want
you,
some hand checking. I want some hand checking from Patrick in this game.
if I got the opportunity, I would want Snoop, and I'm just running PNR the whole time and dumping it down to his big ass.
This pick and roll with Shaq.
I don't think he's gonna try hard enough for me to want him on my team.
Snoop? I'm talking about Snoop.
I think he's way too chill to,
Oh, no,
to try
Snoop-
hard in that.
Snoop is a regular at the All-Star. He's basically the Will Chamberlain of the Celebrity All-Star game. You just throw it down to his big ass, and he just tosses it up there.
I think we
Yeah, I
forget
guess
how
if
tall
you-
Snoop is.
You are playing against, and you're also you're playing against other celebrities who are probably just terrible at basketball. I
Well, so
assume.
they've been recently putting the women in there. So like the celebrities will play with
WNBA.
with, retired
The W All-Stars?
NBA players, and they'll play with W players. To try to make it a little bit retired. I think they're both retired W and NBA players, not actual active players, but I could be mistaken.
Listen, here's that you can go play it in the NBA. Just go get Rick Fox. Sure, he still has a few buckets left in him.
No, Rick Fox is too busy making Hallmark movies.
Hallmark and Tyler Perry movies. Let's go.
Yeah, that man has the longest IMDb in NBA history for sure. But yeah, All-Star Game. It exists. Watch it. Don't watch it. It is what it is.
NBA, hire me to fix your All-Star Weekend event. I promise you'll be good.
Are Dwayne Wade and Ryan Smith playing or coaching in the All-Star game?
Coaching.
Okay, that's what I figured. I just wanted to make sure. I don't know anything about Ryan Smith, so I don't even know how hilarious that would be. But
I don't know who that is either. Actually, on top of that,
he's the Jazz governor.
Oh, right. Okay,
He's
okay, that
coaching
is who it was.
he's coaching the other team.
Okay. That was so. Okay, that's why I was like, isn't that the new guy?
Oh yeah,
who owns
he's
the team?
plenty young. Yeah,
That's funny.
he's
Okay.
married. Is he like married to the Walmart girl, or is that in Denver?
I
Or that's
don't.
happening.
Yeah, I don't know which one he is. But I remember he's really cool. He actually seems like a good
Remember-
owner or
I don't
governor.
think I know anything about this guy.
But yeah, we can move into the quick notes. The buyout market has started to take shape. Terrence Ross, who I'm watching right now, actually decided to spurn the Dallas Mavericks and join the Phoenix Suns, which, to be honest, was probably the right call. I think they could pay him more money, and it's a better gig. Although I feel like the Mavericks needed him more, and he said that the opportunity was better in Phoenix with the playing time. I'm like, no, I don't think that you're lying. I think the money was better, and the opportunity was better to win a title. I think you would have played more in Dallas.
Absolutely.
But either way, that's the only buyout player that I think has actually been signed. Oh, Reggie Jackson is a Denver Nugget. That's the other one. There's still Pat Beverly, Russell Westbrook, and Kevin Love now, who just got bought out today. Dwayne Dedman also joined Philly. There's some little ones, but like the ones that I feel like actually matter, the two that matter at least, because I think Pat Beverly is what he is. Maybe more of a locker room presence, if anything. But Russell Westbrook and Kevin Love. I think there's some interesting conversation to have about where these guys might end up. I don't know that either one of you are going to be too much excited since San Antonio isn't interested in buyout players, and the Dallas Mavericks probably don't need either one of Russell Westbrook or Kevin Love's services.
I don't think
Not
just
yet.
having Kevin Love's body in the middle would be a bad thing for a few minutes a game.
Yeah, I would give more for Kevin Love, but I still think people don't necessarily know how close Kevin Love is to the end of his thing too. So he would. I feel like,
If the Cavs are buying him out, then you're probably somewhat
well,
suspicious of
to be fair, they're also
how
doing
effective
this.
he's going to be immediately.
It is in part to the fact that they have quite a log jam in the bigs department. A very good problem to have with what their current roster build.
Yeah. Oh,
So
one
it
thing
makes
on the
sense.
one thing on the buyout. The Mavs did get somebody on the buyout market.
Oh, Justin Holiday. You're right. Justin Holiday signed with the Mavs.
Oh yeah, because they lost the guy that they were
Because Terrence
supposed to
Ross.
get.
Yeah, the arguably like the least talented of the Holiday brothers.
Yeah, probably.
Oh, is he
I
related?
think
I
I
didn't
like
even know he was
Aaron.
related.
Yeah, so obviously Drew is head and shoulders better. Justin's a really solid, useful NBA player. I think Mavericks might get the best out of him because it's just a great opportunity for him.
This is Past the Rock.
So, like, while I think Chicago and Miami could use that, I think that the Clippers would be really smart to just not do it. Just tell your superstars no. I know it sounds sexy. I just don't think it's there. And then for Russ, I think he's got to get the hell out of LA. Like, I get it. You win a title with the Clippers, you get to shove it in the face of the Lakers the same season as everyone blames you for destroying their whole franchise and calling you a vampire and shit. I get it. The prize is awesome. But like I think the reality is just not gonna I think the reality is that he'll end up doing too much. He'll end up causing frustration between the team, the fans. Who knows? Maybe he ends up costing them something severe in the playoffs. Just not because he's bad necessarily, but because when Russ gets to being bullheaded Russ, he just can't get out of his own way. Like it's impossible. He just can't stop himself. And it feels like that's a tough. It's just asking for him to find even more of a hole to get thrown into, even more fans to bury him, and still in that spotlight. And maybe now he's the blame for the Clippers and Kawhi and Paul George not finishing off their legacy, right?
He should
Miami's
take the Theo Pinson role and just sit on the
Well,
bench and
he ain't doing that
wave a
shit.
shirt around, yell at people.
He ain't doing that shit. I can promise you that. But that's only two buyout guys who I think are massively important left on the board. No offense to Pat Beverly there, or Serge Ibaka, Chapa. Great career that Serge had. So I just wanted to take a little bit of a look at the standings, or answer any questions you guys might have had. I know Caesar, you wanted to talk a little X's and O's when it comes to the Dallas Mavericks.
Yep, with a little bit of Kyrie and Luka. But we could get to the standings first, and then we can go into that, or however you want to do it.
I didn't want to be boring and read out 30 teams ranked in, order.
I was kind of thinking that.
Around.
I think the standings are in a. I don't know exactly what you're going to say, but it seems like it's in a similar place where it's been kind of all year of just 3 through 13. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say we're just starting to show some trends, I guess is where I was going to say. So I'll do the quick trends and then we'll bust into the minutia, right? So we'll go with the easiest one with the East. That one hasn't changed much. The only thing you're really going to notice now is what does Brooklyn do with the 5th seed that they currently hold. They've got a good enough cushion where I think they're a decent enough team where they'll probably still stay in the playoff hunt. But that certainly breeds more life into the Knicks, who have been playing well, the Heat, who have not been playing as well, but who certainly could use this, and then the Hawks, the Washington Zards, the Raptors, and the Bulls, who all sort of sit in another pack. I will say I'm really proud of Orlando. I think that Orlando still has a shot at getting into the play-in, but I mostly feel good about saying Indiana, Orlando, Charlotte, Detroit are done. So that's pretty much the East. Nothing too crazy there. Like I think there's still such a power dynamic with the top 3, and then Cleveland, when they're at their best, have gotten really interesting. Everyone else in that conference, we'll see. But it looks like they're moving into thinking about how next year will go. Then the West is where it gets a little bit more into grinding down the talk here. Denver, Memphis still pretty much cushioned at the top two. Sacramento is holding on dear life for the third seed.
No, I hope they do. I want to see a Mavs Suns first round 4 or 5 seed. That'd be amazing.
Well, they're the 3 right now, so they would drop to get that. They would drop to get that situation. But I do think that I do think that Sacramento will end up falling back. Like, obviously, Phoenix, that's an interesting one to monitor. They're hanging in with the Clippers right now without KD. I also think they're without Kawhi. I don't believe I've looked up to see a Kawhi Borg tonight. Paul George is playing, but I haven't seen Kawhi yet. Even if he might be playing, I just kind of glancing back and forth. So we'll see. Obviously, I think Phoenix, we all expect a surge. I don't know if we think that they're 9 games out of catching Denver, so I still feel pretty good about Denver's finishing off with the best record. I also feel like that's pretty good indication that Nikola is going to win his third straight MVP.
Is this late in the season for the All-Star break? It feels like it's late, but
no, not really. Well, I don't think they've pushed it back. I don't. No, this is right. Middle of February.
20 games left.
Yeah, middle of February.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think we'll look for those to surge. The Clippers, I think, are still surging. Yeah, they're at 6-4 in their last 10, which is probably still disappointing ultimately, but that's heading in the right direction. They're starting to look more like a team that scares people. They had a good trade deadline. I would expect them to, at least at the very worst, hold on to a 4 or 5 spot. And then that's when we bring into where I think that's where 6 through 13 are bunched up. I think there's various levels of where they're at. I think Dallas is definitely the most competent group so far, but I think Golden State's probably the best just because we know if they're healthy that they've shown enough signs that I don't worry as much about their defense as their turnovers, all the other stuff that they always do when they're dicking around.
This is Past the Rock.
Utah has leveled out, just I think, again, with talent. I think Utah ends up leveling out. I'm very, 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 very cautious to give praise to the Lakers, but if last night was an indication of what that team could look like, okay, that's a top 10 team for sure. Maybe it gets better if they're really good. They've still got a hell of a lot of games to make up, though. I mean, they've got to basically get a 5-game swing to get themselves up into that 6-7 spot. So I think essentially you're still, yes, I think Lakers are better. Yes, I think they're a playoff contender, but realistically, that's still like them busting their ass to get the 7th seed. Oklahoma City, I'm confused on. I really don't like them, to be honest, because they're so young and talented. But yeah, that's pretty much where I feel like the West is. Obviously, Spurs and the Rockets they're both in fuck off land. I think the Spurs are on a 15-game losing streak.
14. Unless they played tonight and lost, and I already missed that.
No, I don't think so.
I might have.
There's just 3 games tonight. But anyway, we'll start about the minutia. What teams are interesting to you guys? We can start with the Mavericks. We can get into anybody other's teams that you're questioning.
Yeah, let's just go ahead and get the local team out of the way, right? Because I think there might be more interesting teams. Although there could be some pretty interesting parts regarding the Mavericks. So let me start this off with saying, when Kyrie had that first game and we actually got to see the Mavs run tempo and run a full court offense, that was great. I forgot what that looked like, and I forgot what it was like to live in a world where everything doesn't have to be the half-court offense all the time. But then the first game with Luka and Kyrie, you saw it, and it was a Luka offense. It really was. And I guess my question for you in terms of the X's and O's part is, how realistic do you see the Mavs going forward with this duo, blending the offense where we see more Kyrie, Luka on the floor together, running a full court, running a more fast a faster tempo offense instead of just the usual Luka. Hey, we're gonna slow things down and grind it to a halt, and then I'm gonna be real herky jerky, and that's what's gonna get the defense to just get out of my way, and then I can get open looks for everybody else or for myself.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, I don't worry about it overly. I wouldn't say it's the most casual fit in the world. But ultimately, regardless of whether it lasts forever, whether it makes sense or not, this is a really good test of Luka because he has enough respect for Kyrie's pedigree that he has to kind of bow down to Kyrie to some extent, which at least means that we get to see Luka attempt to play basketball without the basketball in his hand. And that's
Which he's done before, right? Like in Spain and Madrid, he was doing a lot of it, was he not?
Yeah, but you have to understand, like, the ego is quite a thing in sports, and he's just been slowly growing into a basketball superpower within himself. And I think that he doesn't even understand how much he's neglected the important parts of his game, right? And that he's still got these pretty massive leaps to take to win titles. And it's because, like, look, yes, if you win a title, people are going to talk about the way you do a step back or the way that you dribble or the way that, whatever the little Luka things that people love. But that's not what's going to have won you the title. It's going to be the little things. It's going to be playing your damnedest on defense. It's going to be changing a tendency that everyone knows you have in the least, in the craziest moment for you to change the tendency. To take that advantage. And for Luka, this experience with Kyrie gives him a legitimate reason to have to do this, because KP wasn't going to do it. Dinwiddie wasn't going to do it. Just because those guys had abilities to do things on the basketball court didn't mean that Luka Doncic himself was going to be respectful enough to be like, okay, I trust you to do what I do, to play on my level. But Kyrie has to.
Gotcha. Yeah, and not just with that, but like, how do you think the Mavs are going to approach Luka coming off the floor? Do you think there's going to be a lot of times where they're just going to let Kyrie stay on there and run the second unit since they don't really have that? They don't really have a guy to run the second unit.
That's really on Jason Kidd to decide.
Kevin Garnett.
Like, do you see that being like a reasonable thing to do?
What'd you say?
Kevin Garnett said Luka could sit out a whole quarter and they'll still be blowing people out.
Well, we'll see about that. I think this
Kevin Garnett. I don't know if you ever listened to the Steven Jackson whatever podcast with.
Yeah.
Kevin Garnett sounded like he's all in on the Mavs, dude. He was adamant.
I mean, I do like the Mavs long term if Kyrie stays. I think that I have some pretty severe questions about how much this team can do, because they didn't really do a whole hell of a lot about making it any better.
You're just hoping in a 7-game series somehow your top talent is enough, which it probably won't be, but you have a chance.
Yeah, especially if you face Phoenix in the first round.
Yeah, it depends on the matchups. There might be some matchups that work to the Mavs' advantage. Like, I think there's a lot of good teams in the West, but there's some teams that may not, There's enough reason to question the legitimacy of a lot of the Western Conference teams. So
maybe Denver.
Yeah, but Denver's the one who gets the most questioned because ultimately their rim protection is weak, and
I think it's because their best player is European.
Maybe, but I really think maybe they're both the same. I mean, either way, if they don't protect the rim at all, even though they've fixed a lot of the rest of their issues, then I'm not gonna lie to you, man, that's easy money. Like, if you just can't protect the rim, yeah, somebody's gonna figure out a way to beat you. Like, you're not winning a title without protecting the rim. I don't care what era of basketball. Like, that shit ain't happening. And they're just really bad at it. And it's like, cool, like, what if the Lakers do get into the 8th seed? Like, you're going to be really mad when you have to deal with AD and LeBron, because that team isn't good enough to beat you, but they've got the people who can get to the fucking hole whenever they want to, and that's your main problem. And if you survive that, what's next, Because Because the reason they're so good at the Clippers and the Warriors is the Clippers and the Warriors keep playing the same fucking basketball game. They'll meet one of these teams that loves to drive to the rim, and they're screwed because no one's afraid of Joker. No one's afraid of running into his grill. So there's a lot of these teams. I mean, Memphis. I think Memphis is primed to screw it up. I think that they've got a lot of young guys who are ahead of themselves and where their progression really is, in my opinion. Phoenix is old. Phoenix has injury issues. They haven't played together. The Clippers, same basic problems. So I do think there's a lot of Sacramento. No offense, Sacramento, but that couldn't be any more of a paper tiger if I would have seen one. Like if Sacramento makes it the second round, I would be thoroughly shocked. Thoroughly shocked. I don't even care if they're the 30 seed. I would still pick I'd probably still pick the 6 seed over them. So there's just one of those things where what?
I said the poor Kings.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. That was rude to Kings fans, but it is what it is. I mean, same thing. Who protects your rim? Oh, nobody. Cool. Like, this league's full of super freaks that can just drive at the rim at will most of the time, right? Like these, you got to have somebody that can be a force.
This entire just analysis of the Kings being unable to protect the rim. I just picture you going into their stadium or right outside their arena with a hammer and just breaking the beam. Breaking the beam. You're just breaking the beam inside the
like Kings when they take the axe. Like when they take the axe to the bat signal.
Yeah, yes. Exactly.
That's what Bethke's doing. It's like, oh, you think you guys are gonna go somewhere in these playoffs? No. Start smashing everything.
I'm still very, very happy about the Kings, and I like the future that they're building. I just think that
it's definitely the most promise they've had since I was 12. So
since the Weber Kings,
a long time.
Since Bibby, Weber, Stojakovic were there.
Yep. Since they kept getting their hopes up for DeMarcus Cousins teams that never panned out.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
Never forget my favorite team that no one will ever think about. The Matt Barnes, Rajon Rondo, DeMarcus Cousins Kings, coached by George Karl.
That is a 2K team wet dream right there.
That was probably the most entertaining. Payman and I were still living together at the time in college, and we would regularly tune in to Kings games on my League Pass because there was almost a guaranteed fight every night.
That's beautiful.
Or
that's
some
bonding
altercation. Altercation, antics, something. Something was going to go down with those four personalities.
Boogie and Rondo, those two alone.
This is Past the Rock.
I love it.
Yeah, there's not a better bonding exercises than watching a random team that you just know has the biggest personalities in the league. Let's just see what happens. I'm just gonna take a swing.
I love when they do it. But yeah, so that's pretty much where I feel like the Mavs. I think I'm excited to see it. I don't know what to believe with the Kyrie stuff. I think it's just as likely that the Mavericks end up with, some trade package than keeping Kyrie long term.
Yeah, keeping the Birds' rights. Can you just quickly go on what does that mean for them in regards to Kyrie hitting free agency?
Yeah, well, essentially what it should mean, as long as I'm aware, as long as there's no goofiness in the CBA that particularly matters to Kyrie's situation. But that means that the Mavericks should not only be able to pay him the most on the free market, that if he was able to, if he chose to do that obviously he would want the team that could pay him the most to pay him the most, and then he would be signed and traded to whatever roster he chose. The leverage in those situations gets weird. If you remember correctly, we first all became well aware of this rule when two guys did it to go play in Miami in 2010. So that situation, the Cavs and the Raptors got a bunch of BS second round picks, I think. Or no, you know what? Bosch might have just signed outright, and LeBron might have been the only one signed and traded. But either way, LeBron was signed and traded, and they were like, "Oh, this is such a good deal," and it was just a bunch of second round picks and shit. So we'll see what the actual leverage is that they would get back. I would say though, the good news is if it's true that he just is trying to get to Phoenix to get back with KD, that's not a bad. I mean, that's definitely a good team to be wanting to pry stuff from. Colin Cowherd decided to put a rumor out there that maybe LeBron's getting tired of AD's bullshit and wants to send him to Dallas for Kyrie. Actually, I think he just insinuated sending Ayton to Dallas in general, but I don't. That doesn't make sense to me. But that's Colin Cowherd. I don't think he thought it through. I think he just wanted to spit a Lakers take.
Oh yeah, most of his takes are not well thought out.
But he's still got people talking today.
It is interesting that the Suns have a brand new governor who, within an hour of getting the job, signed one of the biggest trades in NBA history. So it does seem plausible that you might be able to hold
Hooper. He knows ball.
If KD and Kyrie are both pressuring the situation, that might force the Suns to give up quite a package for Kyrie.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, not even a bad one. If it just involves Ayton, I mean, I feel like the Mavericks are already in. But
it just seems like it would be the first time the Mavs were ever in a position to actually get to win something as far as personnel goes.
Oh, you mean win a trade? Yeah, for sure.
Well, it would be interesting to see. Let's talk positive for the Mavericks people. I think it would be nice to see those two stay together. I'm just confused and interested into what they think belongs around them. I think it's obvious they need rim protection as much as I just shit on the other teams. The Mavericks are the same damn way. Dwight Powell ain't scaring anybody. I will give Maxi Kleber credit. Maxi Kleber, at his best, is a pretty damn good rim protector.
But it
remains to be seen if we'll ever see him at that level.
Out for like 2 weeks, you all of a sudden talk to Mavs fans and you think Maxi Kleber was fucking Dennis Rodman or David Robinson or like some all-time great. Like he's gonna help, but you need to be realistic about how much he's gonna actually help.
Kleber is kind of the Mavericks version of Sean Lee, where like they know how good he is, but his health never like lets him stay on the court long enough to prove it to everybody consistently. So everyone else just thinks you're kind of crazy. But you're like, no, if this guy's out here, he's good. So like, I think it's kind of one of those situations where he really just has always had nagging injuries.
I mean, I'm not saying I don't think he's a very good player. I just think that his value has been pretty inflated over the last couple of weeks as far as the Mavs fandom goes.
And that's fair. But if you watch Luka play defense, you get why they desperately need him and want him.
Fair enough.
Yeah, exactly what I was going to say.
But then, that's the other question of once Luka gets played with Kyrie long enough, does that mean he's not just killing himself so much on offense that he can try a little bit more on defense? Hopefully,
he should always be trying harder. It's really his brain and effort. And honestly, 90% of Luka's problem is the fact that he just doesn't get back on defense quick enough.
But he's bitching and moaning about a call.
He's just the only one doing anything on the offensive side of the floor.
Which is fair. And I guess my only thing with Luka is just, if you truly are modeling so much of this after LeBron, make sure you've done your research. Because, you're drastically forgetting one big point of the whole LeBron turns it on, turns it off when he wants to thing. The guy's built like a super freak. He can bitch to the refs and then get the fuck back on defense quickly and recover. Even as an old man. I don't like it. It's always frustrated me with LeBron. I think it's taught a lot of guys some unfortunate bad habits, not just Luka. But at the end of the day, it's better than hero ball that Michael gave us. And this just happens with stars. Is they influence us in great ways, and they influence us in some not so great ways, fundamentally at least. Luka has a lot of those flaws, and he has not got a lot of the things that cover him up. The free throw shooting is fine; it's getting better, I think. But when he looks at the free throw shooting, are you being serious about it? Because at the end of the day, show me a LeBron James series where he was a bad free throw shooter in the playoffs. Even as inconsistent as he's been in his career, the man always made them at least raise that percentage up considerably in the playoffs. Like the man very rarely kept. If he, I wonder what the worst percentage he had in the playoff, and probably 71, 72 as a just in a round.
I think the Mavs one was
72.
really bad.
Exactly. No,
72.
60.9 in the that might be
Yeah, the Mavs series, he was pretty bad at the line. If I don't.
Okay,
if I
so then
remember
60.9.
In the 11.
60.9 the last time he was in the playoffs is his worst one.
Oh, for the okay, that's fair. Yeah, for this Lakers Phoenix bullshit round that they had.
And then the one right before that, 72, was the next lowest.
Okay.
No. I lied. There's a couple of 60s in Cleveland, and they won the title.
For
60
percentage for the playoffs?
free throw percentage in the playoffs, yeah.
Well, there you go.
The 14 through 17 Cavs or whatever. He went 73, 66, 69, 74. He's a career 74 in the playoffs.
That makes sense. Bad. Well, and it usually feels like it raises, I guess. That's the way it should feel. Is the numbers should dictate something. Well, they should dictate better, first of all. You're a fucking pro athlete and you're one of the best ever. Both Luka and LeBron. But at the end of the day.
But, finish your thought.
Well, I was just saying, at the end of the day, it's, you just need to have the confidence that you can make them enough times in the clutch where even if people like I said, there's enough empirical evidence to shit on LeBron as a free throw shooter, but if you watch the game, you've seen him enough in his career, he usually makes the ones that matter. At least in the playoffs, there's not a ton of bad misses in his catalog. Yeah, just get that dumbass mentality. Just get that. Just attain that.
Yeah, that's basically what I was going to point out. He make the same because he's a career 73.5% in his career regular season, and then postseason he's 74. Yeah, probably just makes the ones that matter the most. So,
yeah. Just
although the trend is definitely he's fallen off hard as far as that goes in the playoffs.
Well, free throw shooting, LeBron's just been extremely casual the last 3 or 4 seasons, especially. Yeah. Like I would say it's regressed for sure. Probably still the same though, right? He'd probably still make it over every one you don't need him to make if you're the opposite team. But yeah, I would agree. But like I said, though, that's more of an indictment on how just completely batshit the last 2 seasons of Laker basketball has been, where you're like, is this competitive? You're telling me it's competitive, but this doesn't look competitive. This looks like you guys are just kind of hanging out for 48 minutes and then going home. So, but anyway, so that's kind of where we're at with a lot of the standing stuff. Is there any other teams that interest you guys, X's and O's wise, before we start to look at them actually play some hoops?
I mean, that's the thing is since so much changeover has happened, you need these teams to play to know what they are outside of the Celtics and the Nuggets and the Bucks.
Still looking for teams to implode. Honestly, that's the other thing. If you're a fan of just whatever and you need to find something to root for, a lot of the off-season battles are starting now. The Bulls didn't tear it down in the trade deadline. Like I said, maybe Russell Westbrook comes in and gives them that little energy they need to get into the play-in and make everyone forget about how bad this season's been. But and tonight's not the biggest deal. You lose to the Bucks, but basically playing your B team. It's tough for Chicago, and they've got a lot of pieces people want.
There's only 26, 33, so they're what 50, 62. Oh god, math 9. They fit 59. I mean, yeah, there's just not much time for these teams. Bulls are in a free fall. There's not really any time to come back.
Nope. And like I said, this is the time to start for, especially if we're gonna keep it tailored towards local stuff. If you're the Mavs and you're like, okay, even if it's not Kyrie, even if it is Kyrie, how do we get this thing better? how do we get third star and or third guy who isn't quite a superstar or star but is pretty damn good? Who's the team?
They got AJ Lawson, dude. Come on.
But I mean, honestly, like, it's who's the team? Is it Zach LaVine? I don't think it is. If it's Kyrie, obviously.
No,
Is it Pascal Siakam?
no.
What did the Mavericks? If you're playing 2K and you're going into the trade finder and you're putting every first round pick in the trade finder and then whatever salary you got, and you're just like, all right, let me see what the best offer is. You got to have an idea here of who that guy is, and that's where it's tough for me with the Mavs. I'm like, I mean, hell, it's tough for me for anybody. Like I hear the Laker people and obviously ESPN people constantly talking about what their next free agent move is going to be, and I'm like, guys, I don't think free agency is going to be the same as the way it used to be in the NBA. Like, you're going to have to get creative to get to acquire talent nowadays. Like, I don't think we're just going to get a bunch of free agents.
I think the
Selecting
Mavs
teams.
get Walker Kessler.
Oh, that would be nice. Well, dude, if I ran the Mavs, they would be a much younger team, full of draft picks, and not a bunch of fucking has-been ass people to force a Luka run that really you probably could have done with a bunch of kids anyway.
I mean, they are a pretty young team, aren't they? Outside of like JaVale.
To me, it goes
I don't
back to whatever. I'm not going to keep harping on Kristaps Porzingis, but like, why the hell would you trade a pick that could have landed you some better young rookies who have already shown us they're pretty decent and useful, and you traded it for this malcontent stretch four because you thought you were going to be smarter than everybody and get this big steal of a player, and like, all you got was another malcontent who doesn't play defense and occasionally gets hot, which is basically your entire defense or your entire team. Like, the Mavericks just really annoy me with the way they handle their business. Like, it's okay to develop young people. I know that their fans are annoying and we're way too harsh on the Green thing because Desmond Bain was older and ready at the time. But like, man, it really does bother me. I'm like, you're trading a first round pick, like Wendell Moore, who the pick essentially was, hasn't played much this year, but that looked like an awesome little 3-and-D wing prospect for the Mavericks. I think Mark Williams went a little bit before that, so maybe that's where they decided there wasn't a big guy there that they needed. Either way, I keep looking at the Mavericks run around the same problems, man. Same problems. Even though it's Nico Harrison now, it still feels like the same Mavericks, and that worries me a lot.
Yeah. Oh, also, Patrick, just to get back on the topic of the age, they have, well, let's see, more than half their rosters 27 or older. The majority of the rosters.
Okay.
Let's see. So they have, Theo Pinson 27, Wood 27, Bertans 27, Hardaway 30, Irving 30, Bullock 31. Yeah, and then it just keeps going from there. So
Fair enough.
a lot of these guys are over the age of 30 or getting there. And then you have your young players. Luka 23, Josh Green 20, and then your backup players that aren't going to see a lot of time, Wright 24 and 22. So
Yeah.
Not a super young team, somewhere in the middle, or probably
No, for
leans
sure.
closer.
For some reason in my head, I thought some of those guys were not. I didn't realize how old Reggie Bullock was.
Oh yeah. Reggie got his start on the Chris Paul Clippers.
Ooh. There you go. Yeah, and then adding Morris and Holiday also skews things because they're both 33.
Yep. Yeah.
Damn, Justin Holiday's 33?
Yeah, Justin's been around for a minute too. He's been a reserve wing for most of his career.
He had a baby face. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And he looks younger than I would have anticipated. But okay. All right, there you go. Mavs need to get younger.
Do we have any mention of that wedding at the Mavs game? Have we talked about this?
Oh yeah, I didn't see it. I just saw everybody's reaction to it.
Yeah, that's.
I think it's pretty genius. I think it's going to be cheaper than most weddings.
Maybe.
I think that you better hope that your significant other is actually really that down with the clown.
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure.
'Cause
Yeah.
I'm pretty
That
sure
part.
I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure that would not end well for me in my attempts to do that.
No, I wouldn't do that, at least not in my current situation, but I'm just
Yeah.
saying, like, if you have someone who's like, "That's fine with me," like, that's so much better, dude.
And
Yeah,
like,
Do you know how cool of a story that is? You like I said, I'm pretty sure it's gotta be cheaper than a lot of if you can afford to pay for that, then you were probably gonna spend a lot more on an actual wedding.
my question is, did they cater the wedding with the AAC food court, like food
Like
options?
the pizza Patron individual pizzas.
Yeah, did they go and get the hot Cheetos with the queso in it? Like, did they do that after the wedding?
We
I
probably
have a
did
lot
one
of.
of the bougie, is there still a taco place in there? I don't know if that's still there. I think they might have shut down.
I don't think so. When we went there, I didn't see any tacos. But they like, I'm like, I want to know, did they get a suite? And that's where they did their little. I have questions. I just have a lot of questions about
Yeah,
that. How that
I'd
works.
love to know. I think that's genius. I can't believe no one, maybe someone's done it before, but I've never heard of it.
Yeah, doubt it. Doubt it.
That was my NBA highlight of the week.
yeah, fair enough. No, that was definitely an interesting moment. I was like, all
Mark
right, man.
Followell to marry
Officiate the
him.
wedding. I hope he got
Yeah.
paid for that.
Hey, better than choosing Harper, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
It was fucking. Oh, Death of Valley. That's what we need to end on.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
I mean,
Finish
I don't
things
Talk
know.
about
off on
what? Sorry,
on a positive note.
what I
I
missed?
don't know enough about the future or whatnot. I did not do enough
Oh,
digging.
Diamond. So it's
But
confusing. The Diamond Sports Group thing. So it's owned by Sinclair, and I haven't heard if Sinclair has any interest in even trying to help them out. Um, so for anyone who doesn't know, when Disney bought Fox, Fox had to sell off some of the regional sports networks. So Fox Sports Southwest and a bunch of the other Fox Sports turned into Bally's, which is owned and operated by something called Diamond.
Diamond Sports Group.
Oh, I forgot. Diamond Sports
Yeah.
Group, which is just a subsidiary of Sinclair. Um, and another thing that I read today is so not only did the Diamond Sports Group miss their whatever $10 million payment they're supposed to make, I saw some other news about one of the Midwest or Northeast cable channels doing something similar, but it's not being as reported on for some reason yet.
Okay, so
But basically,
here's-
the MLB said that they're gonna, worst case, they're just gonna offer streaming for fans this year if they
oh,
have to.
beautiful.
oh,
I'm
nice.
sure
MLB
Amazon will
said
step
that.
right in.
Right? Gee.
Amazon will be like, oh, we got you, shoot, baby.
It's
What
a-
you up to? We got you.
They failed to make $140 million
Oh, it's
interest
100.
payment.
Sorry, I thought it was like 10.
Yeah, no, it's 140 million interest payment, and they opted into a 30-day grace period to make the payment, and if they don't do it,
right.
then they file for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, whatever. That
Beautiful. Death to Valley Sports, and let's hope whatever replaces it isn't worse.
Yeah.
Even though it might be.
God, I hope not. And what
I mean,
if
this is-
Nickelodeon buys MLB games? Every game's a slime game. That'd be gross.
I'm interested. I mean, because it's CBS, so you could have your normal broadcast and you have your slime broadcast.
Are you guys gonna watch the Teen Titans version of the Slam Dunk contest this year?
I did not know that existed, but I might now that you mentioned it.
Hey.
I just remembered because you said that. Yes, there's like a Teen Titans version, I believe.
There's a Teen Titans dunk contest. All right, I'm in. You sold me. I'm ready. I'm ready for the nostalgia.
But the last thing I do want to say about that, the Bally's, whatever, Diamond Sports nonsense, is that hopefully it leads to what we've talked about before, which is the idea that the leagues just stop using cable and just start offering their own streaming packages themselves.
Partner with somebody who's already got this streaming shit figured out.
I think the NFL will probably always can and always will because they just broadcast on
Everything
over the air regular TV. But these teams that have 80 games a year, they don't need to be on TV. They don't need to be on cable like that. they can sell their own packages.
Yep.
Yeah, first show.
Boom. That's it.
That's it.
Any more
Next week is
hot
going to be just
topics
about as
tonight?
boring because there's literally not going to be any basketball.
Yeah, that next.
We're gonna play some Rangers games, and I'm gonna try to field whatever questions you guys might have about the team this year, and also we'll definitely get into where the Stars are at right now.
Yes.
Yeah, let's
Because
do
it's
some deep
good.
diving into
It's good, but it's been kind of boring, not worth talking about while there's other pertinent stuff happening. But don't worry, if you're a hockey lover, we got you. We got you coming soon.
Yeah. Next week is the Patrick episode. He's gonna carry us on his back. He's gonna go for a triple double.
I'm gonna have to rest my voice. I tried to let you guys. I try to sit back more, let you guys talk, and then even when I do that, I feel like my throat hurts at the end of this.
All right, man. We'll just have a bunch of halls ready, some cough drops, whatever you need. Because you're
a giant pot of coffee and an ashtray. That's all I need. Like I'm a I don't know.
Yeah, you're going to be the Jalen Brunson of the podcast. Like I'm talking about Utah Jazz Mavs series where Luka was out. That's you. That's you next week.
I got scouts talking to my dad, and everyone's like, "Oh, isn't that cool that they're just here to watch this game and look at this guy on this other team?"
Yeah, you're gonna get poached away to I don't know. What's one of those? What's the podcast that Big Cat does?
Is that like KFC
on Barstool? Yeah, like on Barstool. Yeah, Barstool's gonna steal you away from us.
Oh yeah.
Hey man, I can be bought.
2/3 white people. They're gonna already be interested.
I could definitely be bought. I heard this some kind of comedian talking about like the ethics of doing ads, and he was like, well, look, if you're willing to spend money on a product, I don't know why you'd have a problem with them spending money on you. I was like, it kind of makes sense. So, like what I'm saying is I'll whore myself out for ads.
No, for real.
Guys,
for things I enjoy.
Yeah, guys, Shaq's Big Chicken is coming to North Texas. We gotta hop on that and make that our sponsor. We're gonna record a podcast.
Start setting up and recording. Yeah.
Yes. We're gonna guerrilla warfare this.
It's gonna be great. They're gonna ask us to leave on multiple occasions. Shaq's gonna be there's like, and that's when we invite him into the pod.
How you doing? Oh, Kawhi is playing tonight. He just hasn't scored a point yet. It's in the third quarter. It's impressive. All right.
Shout out
Kawhi
Leonard.
Well, if there's nothing further, I think that wraps up a pretty decent week.
Yeah, that was a pretty strong episode.
This is Past the Rock.
Thank you for listening to Pass the Rock. Join us next week, and please tell your friends. Or else.
This is Past the Rock.